Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the second round of the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series. This evening we're excited to bring you coverage of all the action from iRacing's virtual Watkins Glen Raceway in Watkins Glen, New York. Tonight's broadcast will cover both races simultaneously with our picture-in-picture format, thanks to our talented team behind the scenes at Maconi Entertainment. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including the weekly Maconi Fix Series and more. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince, alongside the booth for tonight's action, Braden Laster, alongside Dylan Coyle. Our producers tonight, Bradley Cooper and DJ Lyon. Shane Mundy will be handling our social media once again for tonight's coverage for the second round of the 2024 RTP season. Start with you, Braden, for tonight. So far, it's been some intriguing racing. We've seen big tracks, we've seen small tracks, and now we see road course racing. This is technically our midway portion.
That is the first road course in the entire Road to Pro schedule, going all the way back to February. And let me tell you, a lot of guys are excited, a lot of guys are intimidated, but this brings out some of the best in road course guys. A lot of these drivers circle this race on their calendar, and they are excited to get this thing underway.
And Dylan, Watkins Glen going to be a challenging one for these competitors. They actually increased the distance to 40 laps to make sure there's a pit stop in the race. But there's going to be a lot of battle of attrition possibly on a road course like this for some of the competitors.
Yeah, absolutely, JP. You know, whenever you go to a road course, you're always going to deal with the attrition here, especially on iRacing. Cautions are not really a factor for most road series, and with everybody kind of gearing up for the final stretch of this round 2 in this series, you got to look at the track map here. Watkins Glen is really going to be the one that I think has the most question marks associated with it. The opportunity for drivers to get involved that, hey, maybe have not had the best first 3 races so far.
And real quickly, talking about the championship so far, well, after a couple races down, Agno Phillip has a sizable points lead, in fact. The Real World Reporter will be up in the standings over Michael Frisk, Eddie Kerner, and Brian Mercurio, along with Jackson Crowder, a part of a 3-way tie for third, in fact. Dylan C. Jones making some waves with Elliott Sauer Esports, Brennan Hawk in the top 7. Mitchell Hunt, Logan Clampett, and then Brennan Kohler amongst your top 10. A lot of ties early on in the season. Expect that to change in a couple races' time, especially as we look to see who makes that cutoff around the top 20. Right now it's Ethan Lane and Jack Mace on the bubble. But already qualifying, coming to a close in the sessions. 5 minutes of road course qualifying tonight. 2 laps, whatever comes first for our drivers this evening. So it's time to get ready to go racing for 40 laps at the Glen. We'll take a look in just a moment here on your starting lineups. Dylan and I have your first split grouping lineup on screen. Eddie Kerner setting the pole time tonight, a 1:11.3. That is 2/10 quicker than Brad Wright. Jack Coyne, he's one of the Nexus drivers. He starts third, Blaze Crawford in fourth. Logan Clamp and Michael Frisch start off in row number 3 tonight. Christopher Pfeffer going to be on the next page of drivers. Pfeffer starting off in the 7th position. That'll be tapped over right now. Jackson Crowder, Jake Matheson, Michael Venable rounding out your top 10, Dylan.
Absolutely. We continue moving on with Alexander Russell in 11th with a 1:11.82 time mark, set alongside David Childhouse in 12th with an 11.86. Going into row 7, we continue moving down the order with Christopher Hill, Max Brady alongside in that 7th row. Ryan Andrew and Joe Armstrong, 15th and 16th. Got David Brown in that Ford number 2 machine, and Cade McClenny in 18th to round out the top 20. In 19th, we've got JT Poole, and 20th is Dalton England, JP.
Tanner Love starts 21st. Nick Hunter, Dick Miller, I should say, in 22nd. Nathan Landwehr and Rocky Boyd the third, top 24 drivers. The rest of the drivers setting times included James Wenzel, River Hayes, and Chad McGinley. Your drivers not setting times in the qualifying order: Joshua Ballett, Quentin Warman, Daniel Nanny, Caden Rush, Santiago Tires, and Matt Cucker did not make the starting grid for tonight. He, in fact, had to start from pit road in our first of 2 splits. That's what top to bottom of the first split order. Real quickly, Braden, I believe you have the start of the next grouping of drivers on track.
Now, much tighter split number 2. Brian McCurry on the pole. Agnell Phillip, your points leader, his second front row start of round 2 in just 3 races. Connor Yaroshak in third. Kevin Champagne in fourth. Nate Stewart rounding out your top 5. Those drivers are all within 2/10 of one another. Brendan Houck in 6th. Ethan Lane in 7th. Dalton Milam in 8th. Blake McCandless in 9th. Matthew Morton 12th. Baumgartner Navarro, Batby, Nyhoff, Helton, Crowder, Vrabel, Bowers, Cooley, and Slash rounding out your top 20. And everyone else, I mean, look at the times. These drivers are fierce and they are fast.
Real quickly, Dylan, what are your keys to a successful night? 40 laps to get it done for our race analysis. Expecting a pit stop here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, JP, it's all about how you deal with the first lap chaos, the first lap madness, because it's going to go green to the end here. You have to make sure that you don't get caught in a bad situation trying to make a move or trying to defend a move at the very beginning of that race. You can't win it in the first corner. You can certainly lose it, though.
Let's go split picture here as both fields are just about set to go. We're glad to have you with us here at iRacing Maconi Entertainment. We're RTP Racing from the Glen. And already 3 wide in split 1 on your top screen. Several drivers for the 3rd and 4th row shuffling Jack Coyne back. Split 2 staying single file, in fact just about 2 by 2, much the way to the 90 as they work their way up the hillside.
Yeah, it was a big problem. Sorry to cut you off there, Brayden. It was a big problem for Jack Coyne. Caught sleeping at the start of that first green flag in the main view here. That absolutely destroyed his run.
You see this top 10 starting to spread out, try and get single file going through the bus stop there. Split 2 a little bit ahead, it looks like, but 2 wide through the bus stop, somehow able to make it work. A couple drivers dipping their left sides in the grass, I believe. That is one driver off the track, the 98 machine.
A couple different drivers scattered about. In fact, Munsel's off right there was David L. Brown. Lost lots of ground in the top split grouping. There's a look at Brown. Contact with Belen at the back of the field. And it is like rush hour traffic back here. Tires having to go nearly in the grass. Rush did touch parts of the grass to be able to make the move.
Yeah, that was quite wild right there. It's all about trying to deal with it, though, as all of these drivers finish up lap number 1. Eddie Kerner has the race lead. Started there, keeps it there, and it's pretty calm up front. It's just in the mid-pack. That's where you expect the madness and the craziness to go. I think in that other split, we've got a car already down, or a truck down into pit road.
Yeah, that's Matthew Batby. Got a meatball Not really sure what the scenario was. He went off the track a little bit. I mean, barely touched the wall, but enough to give him meatball flags. You have to make an early pit stop. No faster pit tonight, and Channing Value also went around for a spin in the bus stop. So rough night for those drivers that needed some points, and unfortunately, looks like Batby's run is over before it even got started.
Right now, we're second of the splits, currently in main focus, by the way. Mercurio expecting him to do very solid when it comes to this again, but a lot of the others we're looking to see some bounce backs from. In particular, one of those that needs to be able to get a move on. You'd have to argue is one on screen. Navarro showed good flashes of speed, but as a part of the many 60-plus drivers who are trying to make up a lot of ground here in the point standings to be on the right side of the cutoff coming into tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Navarro right now 32nd in the points, currently 11th in this race. And while that, yeah, will help climb up through the standings, it's not like there's that many races to go, that many races in general in the second round. So if you're already caught back in the 32nd, the top 20 make it to the Contender Series. You got to keep moving up through the field.
And talking about Andrew Navarro, remember, he had an electric start the round one. 3 podiums in 3 races, I believe. His average finish the first couple races this round, 17th.
Yeah, big drop off on pace this round so far. Looking back at essentially split A, we'll call it in the main picture, by the way. Blaze Crawford, Michael Frisch currently grouped together. These two seem to be in sync once again here with them being with the same organization. Michael Frisch, of course, we talked about him being top 5 of the point standings. But we also know that based on the speed, drivers like Crawford, they are close on the bubble. In fact, Crawford within 2 points of the bubble coming into tonight.
Yeah, and after 3 races, you know, there's a lot of drivers that have an average finish of around 15th all the way to 17th. So the good thing is, for those drivers on the bubble, everyone around them is kind of middling around. They're not necessarily having the strongest of starts to the second round of the Road to Pro Series. Here's the problem, though, guys. You can't really separate yourselves out in such a short amount of time. So those small performances are not going to do you any help. And by the way, the top 20 obviously breaks away from that middling portion more than the drivers on the bubble. So, hey, if you're gaining a point here, gaining a position in the standings there, it doesn't really mean anything if it's for outside the top 20.
And already coming up to 4 laps through these races. That's how quickly we've gotten through so far. Braden, when it comes to the mindset of a race like this, what goes to mind if you're not road course centric? A lot of people these days have become a lot more road course intensive, but there are still C and D licensed road racers technically in the field. Remember, this series set upon by the oval license.
I think we might even have a couple of road course rookies that's running on board there with Trevor Huff. Driver in front of him getting a little loosey-goosey off the corner. But going back to what you were saying, it can be difficult, it can be frustrating. It's a big mental game these road courses are. You might not have the speed you want, one bump gone wrong, and you're having to deal with an ill-handling truck, and going left typically can manage it, going left and right to get the truck out of balance just a little bit. You're in for a road of pain and a road of displeasure. Speaking of road of pain and displeasure, Matthew Batby mentioned had that incident earlier, got the meatball flag back out on track, but meanwhile, it's the Brian Mercurio show here in split number 2, and got 2-second advantage. I'm sure he's having a lot more fun than some of the guys in the back.
Yeah, some of those towards the back having a bit of a bumpy time, but Mercurio running away and still keeps themselves busy in the league scene. That's not a surprise to see him do well here tonight. Mercurio very comfortable in races like this one.
Yeah, and you know, when you have control of the race in that manner, I think those are the drivers that kind of exude that confidence as the season progresses, as the rounds progress, where if you do have that gap already built, you've already put yourself in a good spot with qualifying. Now it's just about executing. You know you've got speed. There's not going to be that much randomness that goes into a race on the road course here at Watkins Glen as they climb up the S's here. And guys, I got to tell you, it is way steeper than it looks.
That's a huge elevation climb. The bottom of the S's is one of the lowest parts on this track layout. It's a 100-foot climb to the peak of the S's there. And let me tell you, I haven't ran a race here at Watkins in real life, but I have spotted an ARCA race here last year. I was right there in the tower on the S's, and it's definitely a fast corner. If you know what you're doing, it can come up on you fast and come up on you quick if the car stalled there.
I've walked up there. It's not easy to walk up there when you are in the process of trying to lose weight. But hey, it helps.
By the way, your biggest mover in current big bongs is Quentin Warman, who's gone on a war path through the field up into the top 18 already. He is flying, and I mean absolutely flying in his number 84 truck. He's one of the fastest trucks on the track. If it wasn't for the non-qualification, we might be talking about him battling possibly for the top 5 right now with how much speed he's been able to put in the Renko truck to be able to charge through this pack 113 flats in traffic.
What we mentioned, one point here, 1 point there, as Dylan said, that all matters. Quentin Warman, driver, currently 3 points from being inside the bubble. He's in a 4-way tie for 25th. So we mentioned top 20 advance to the next round over the bottom 20 from the Coke Series. And a Warman trying to be one of those drivers in that top 20, just a couple spots right now shy of it.
Looking back at one of the adrenaline machines again in Navarro. One thing to touch upon, the temperatures in session. It is near dead even. In fact, it is currently dead even in session, Braden, because 84 Fahrenheit, 112 track temperature, in sync for the drivers right now in the sessions over the course of these 40 laps.
This is a hot track to be turning left and right on, so grip is not in their favor. Speaking of grip, someone that needs to get a grip of things, that's Matthew Batby, about to actually get lapped by Brian Mercurio in the second split. I see on your screen there. So it's the Andrew Navarro going around turn 1 as well. So Batby mentioned had that incident early on, and now about to go lap down. We mentioned no cautions tonight. That's a bit of the name of the game. So Batby's going to have to hang on and try and maybe survive until then and pick up a couple spots through attrition, because right now he is 50 seconds behind the next truck.
Brayton, I'm kind of curious, when we talk about track temperatures to try and go rights and lefts here on the road course, does it almost help or hurt that they're racing on Watkins Glen as opposed to, say, New Hampshire, and it would be that hot?
I think it kind of depends on where they're at. They're in the S's and they're a hammered down portion of the track where they're having to turn left and right, but they can stay full throttle for the most part. It's not a friend at all, but they have a heavy braking zone like turn 1. They can kind of use that looseness as Mercurio coming around the final corner, about to finally put Batby a lap down. Curious just thinks on the radio. But you can use that looseness, though, to get around turn 1 maybe a little bit quicker, but at the cost of tire wear.
Still keeping an eye on things, already about a quarter of the way distance next time by through. Logan Clampett's return to get back to the eNASCAR Coco iRacing Series so far. This season looking very solid. Round 1, one of your top contenders. This season curling 9th. The time for 9th, should say, the point standings in round number 2. Has one top 5 in the 2 starts so far that we've seen. The average finish is in the ballpark in 11th. And we know Logan, if he gets himself back to Coke, might be a contender for race wins for the get-go.
Yeah, also looking at the stats, sorry to interrupt you, but also looking at that, average finish of 11th, that one top 5 has 32 laps led. So one of the drivers with a more hefty amount of laps led so far in round number 2, and that's a big stat here, because not a whole lot of drivers have led laps, but Clamp at one of them.
Right now, just staying in a rhythm in the 3rd spot after starting the top 5. Looking at some of the others in the groups currently. Jack Coyne, first time I've really touched upon him in the season, in fact, here, Dylan. So far in what is his best starting position of the season, he's been able to maintain on his own in the top 10, currently running behind a teammate in Matheson.
Yeah, and, it's good for him to be running in 7th right now, but it could have been so much more. He started the race up in 3rd, and if you recall, he was caught napping. He was caught sleeping. I guess it's something you're not just used to having the car on the right side get the big jump to start off a race. Everything usually goes to the left. You usually have the inside on the left, but the inside and P1, Eddie Kerner was on the right when we got the green flag. Maybe that played into Coin not getting the best of jumps, not getting the best of starts to this race, quickly down 4 positions. And, you know, it's not the biggest of deals, but with him back in 33rd, currently 5 points out of being in a tie for that 20th and final spot to move on to the Contender Series, that's a big deal. That's 4 positions right there, and that's 4 points.
Is one of the eNASCAR drivers, and it's pit party time. This wasn't a surprise, Braden. There was talks of a quick stop 10 laps into the race, and it looks like Nexus is going for it right now to start lap 11.
I was getting ready to bring that up. A lot of drivers I talked to said lap 10 and lap 11 expect pit stops. A lot of them are favorites of the short pit. The quick tires, maybe a splash of fuel and go to the end. Looks like drivers are going to take tires. So expect everyone to make a pit stop at some point during this race. Some drivers feel like they can make it to the end. That's something we're going to have to watch, a different pit strategy. So far, no one in split number 2 seems to be on pit road. Actually, I'll take that back. Jack Mace, first one down. Matthew Morton and Dustin Johnson down. So Agnew Phillip is seen split number 1 as well. I'm sorry, split number 2. And then Mace run off pit road. So different couple pit strategies you can use.
So both splits in sync on pit strategy. Looking back at the front runners once again, though, and how they are now going to fare out. It's the question going to be, when does the rest of the field come in? Because Matheson leading the charge essentially for those on that strategy. Right now, half a track to 3/4 of a track back.
Yeah, and, you know, I think Matheson, as we see that last lap time, obviously with the pit stop there, compared to his best, he's trying to make moves immediately. I think we'll see as this race goes on the strategies at play and the undercuts, the overcuts. What I'm interested in seeing is the drivers who go in one lap after another, maybe around that halfway point. If that is the case, what is the difference in speed on average over one of their outlaps versus the next driver's outlap?
That's going to be a huge question as we see more pit stops in the lower box, including Will Cooley this time around. Others that just pit in the other box, JT Poole, Nick Miller, Daniel Nanny, Joshua Ballett are amongst those who have just completed service in this lap. So the fuel window was borderline 35 laps, hence the extension, Braden. This is going to get interesting, too, for those who elect to stay on the track and keep the track position. We might see some splash and dashes here.
Yeah, Brian McCurry, the leader of split number 2 in now. Champagne stays out to inherit the lead, it looks like. But, yeah, we talked about a couple drivers. They thought they might be able to make it. So we'll have to see who's confident and who's not. But the side effect of that is you have to back your pace down tremendously, and they're going to be slower overall the course of a run. And I just don't know if the math is going to math. So we're going to have to almost play a time game, get their clocks out, and see who stays out the longest, and maybe try and coast across the line or pit the one to go, take a second of fuel and try to get out of the pits as quick as you can to minimize loss in the pits maybe. So that's something we're going to have to wait and see.
Still scanning around the field. Crawford holding on to his current position. He's 11 in Sim 4 on the racetrack based on the paint scheme. These two teammates seem in sync once again, as we touched upon earlier on, but communication is key, Dylan, when it comes to a race, especially when it comes to the road courses. It's important to make sure you stay in sync with your teammates to be able to figure out what to do around this racetrack and where you can make up time.
You keep saying in sync, and I just keep thinking of Deadpool. So if you can, not put that into my brain as we're trying to do a race, that would be fantastic.
Then I'll say bye, bye, bye.
I mean, listen, sometimes you just have to say bye, 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 and I think these drivers are starting to say bye, bye, bye to the fuel in their tanks and the tires that they've got on. Yeah, staying in sync, and I'm going to keep thinking of that, is going to be important on the road courses. Sometimes you might want to do a little bit of a flip-in strategy just to see if one helps out the other on a longer race. On a short race where you're only thinking one stop, there's not much of a point to do that unless you can find extra speed, as we see a bunch of pit stops happening right here, by having one driver do a 2-stopper, one do a 1-stopper. But again, it's a 40-lap race. You don't need to be thinking too incredibly. So yeah, important to be in sync. Not as much, though, with a shorter race like this.
And the calculation estimate right now is 45-second time loss for those who come into the pit lane, come out of the pit lane with their service, and go from there. Eddie Kerner, he's going places up near 2 seconds. It's one major competition we touched upon in this series in the past, including LCQC action, where he won the top prize in that a few years ago. Well respected in the league scene with Norse Force currently, and right now is in a very strong pattern to pull away for the rest of this field.
Yeah, looking at that number 1 split, top 20 drivers, so still yet to pit. There's a couple drivers down the list. We got, Jake Madison, Jack Coyne, Benable, England, and Poole. A couple others as well have pitted, so we're going to start seeing maybe a speed difference in tires, or to see if drivers start to kind of fall off trying to save, and that's when we're going to have to kind of look and try and put clues together as who's trying what strategies. Kevin Champagne has just pit and split number 2 from the lead, giving the lead to Ashton Crowder.
To give a bit of an idea on the lap times in the split that is currently on your main screen, they've fallen off close to a second. Not a complete second for most, but I'll tell you one thing, Logan Clampett has gone down pit road. So that is a big driver to start a pit party there with 25 laps to go as they cross the line this time by.
And the number of drivers since the second of the splits we've been keeping an eye on, down to just 5 yet to take their pit service. Most people are taking the pit stop before even the halfway point. So far, for reference, the fall off in the other split of those yet to pit, 1 second. So a lot of people electing to take the roll of the dice. So Jackson Crowder amongst those in the pit boxes here, a wave of pit stops, including Pfeffer and the other split as well, with David Schildhaus also in the pit lane. Off and away, Schildhaus coming out in the Norse Force machine in front. So
you might be able to provide some insight here, but you have an Ashton Crowder in the other split, JP. I don't know if they're related, as Ashton Crowder in the second split is actually going to take the lead. There's 3 drivers yet to pit. Crowder started 16th, Matt Danson started 26th, Garrison Hogan started 29th. So only 3 drivers now yet to pit. Their average starting spot is 23rd.
Take a look. Take a look right now at Carson Bowers.
Kerner's
Eddie
coming
Kerner
down pit road.
Yeah, was just about to say. Pit road is open for your top runners in the bottom box. Brad Wright yet to take his service. So we continue on with 24 laps to go, and it looks like most of the field's consensus, we have to pit early to be able to get it done and over with. Ashton Crowder yet to take the service, trying to roll the dice. Former driver with experience at the Coke level, trying to power his way around here.
I guess my question, guys, is if all these drivers are pitting early, they're not too happy with the tires early on. Well, if they're going to have to make it work even more than halfway for the second part of the race, is it really going to be beneficial compared to maybe the drivers who come closer or right at the halfway point? I mean, I look at a driver like Brad Wright, right? And we don't exactly know. Actually, Brad Wright is now coming down pit road. He was in the lead of this race, and I think that's everybody actually in that main primary split that has come down pit road. We obviously see a few other, or maybe there's not a few other drivers to still go. Trying to get it all updated on my side, but guys, I don't know why some of the drivers are pitting at the very earliest, because they're going to suffer as it goes on.
I think that the point is they didn't want to spend as much time getting fuel in their tank. They just want to get the short pit and get in and out as quick as possible. It's like the McDonald's drive-thru. You want to be in and out, get your fries, and go.
Can be
Sometimes
up to
that's easier said than done.
Yeah, I was about to say it could be up to a couple seconds difference if you need to top up to the whole tank in a full 18 gallons compared to, say, 16. Well, either way, Brad Wright has already completed his service. The only ones yet to pit, Tanner Love, Rocky Boyd, River Hayes. And Tanner Love with Legacy has had a very quiet RTP campaign this year, but he almost likes it quiet, if that makes sense, because he's one of the lowest I-rated drivers in the field when it comes to the oval side. Usually makes it through the double-digit splits, just tries to make it to round 2, focuses on that, gets the job done, does what he needs to do to make the next round, and that's all he really needs to do. He's in the pit lane now, but Tanner Love able to get some lead laps here, possibly. We'll see if he gets scored a lead lap, as he will not. Rocky Boyd the third will get it.
I say, go ahead, Dylan.
Brayton, man, we keep cutting over each other real quick, but I'll say this for sure, and I'll actually direct this to you, Brayton. When you want to be a little bit quiet, that's good, but when you're in that second round, now it's about making the top 20. Everybody, there's a third of the drivers almost that are going to make it into that Contender Series. You are here. There's no reason not to go for it. Tanner Love is 6th to last right now in terms of the standings, and he's got a lot of work to do in the last few races of this season. So as a driver, is that mentality of going long compared to the rest of the teams, the rest of the drivers, maybe a act of hoping something goes wrong for the other drivers? Maybe a desperation?
Some guys just want to lead laps, and we were talking about, some drivers, it depends on what their goals are. Some of them are trying to get back to the Coke Series, some are trying to get into the Coke Series for the first time. Some of them, they just wanted to make it here. A lot of people told them, hey, you're not going to make it to round 2. You don't have what it takes. And they sat there, they grinded all through round 1, 7, 8, 9 races, whatever it was, and they made it here to round 2, and they've proven their point, introducing this as a learning curve. They're not expecting to make it to the next round, but if they're able to, it's, great for them, but they're using this as practice. Next year, maybe 2 seasons, they'll ready to tackle with a full force, and they're just getting their feet wet for now.
Meanwhile, here comes Mercurio, already closing up to both Crowder and Matt Danson. And remember, Mercurio wants those already in the pit party group, trying to charge on to one of the drivers with the most road course experience in Danson.
Yeah, Matt Danson still yet to pit, actually about to get past Mercurio. Mercurio, as far as equal pit strategy, Connor Yaroshak is the first driver behind him there in 4th, a 6-second difference. Danson says, Mercurio going by, I don't want to race you here. So he's going to take the opportunity going through turn 6. Crowder, meanwhile, continues to lead the way. So from 16th on the grid, we're at the halfway point. So if we're going to pit, I say do it now, or else it's going to lose a lot of extra time in the pits. Maybe Crowder, maybe he's trying to go the distance. We're going to have to wait and see. Meanwhile, Mercurio is over a second faster lap, so he's not going to hang on to lead for long, but Crowder below that points bubble, looking for a good finish maybe.
Yeah, Mercurio flying on through. Eddie Kerner, by the way, in the bottom box has retaken the race lead, as in the box goes Rocky Boyd the third. It did close up the gap though, Dylan. I'm not sure if you noticed this too, but Boyd the third really held up Kerner. That's allowed Clampett to get within 2/10. This is the closest the lead's been since the start.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another thing you got to remember. Clampett went into the pits a lap earlier than Eddie Kerner. Both of these drivers absolutely have shown they have speed over the years, and I feel like this is a true battle of the top talents here in this split in this series. I'm excited to see where they do end up, but if my money is on anything, I think right now tire advantage is slightly, it's 2.5 miles more into the favor of Eddie Kerner as this race goes on. I think that gap will expand. So while yes, Kerner was held up, Clampett has caught up. Now I think Kerner's going to have to make a mistake, or Clampett is going to have to show some unbelievable speed as he kind of brushed the outside wall there in the final corner to perhaps take this lead away.
She's looking to try and get that inside advantage, run a little bit tighter on the corner. We do have a bit of development for the last place driver in split number 2. Dustin Johnson started last, is running in the back, spun out going through the bus stop, and had to toe just got out of the way to make matters worse. While he was in pit lane trying to get some minimal damage fixed, he overheated and blew up. So his night is done. Just a couple laps in for him. So started last, and he's going to finish there too.
Not
That's
what
a rough road to pro second round for him.
That's going to be disastrous. Because remember the situation, to quickly breeze upon with Pocono, that's going to be costly for their hopes for the championship likely as a result. And to move on. They're going to need to be perfect from here on out. Take a look at your points leader. Right now looking pretty solid so far. Has been a driver you're familiar with a lot, Dylan. He's been doing extremely well in Agno Phillip.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see it. And of course, the one Road to Pro race I miss recently, it's the one he wins. So I wasn't, upset about that or anything. But Agnell has certainly shown that he's got not just speed, but he's got this level of confidence and calmness about him where he feels like he's in control of most moments, and when he's in control, it's really hard to get him off his game, as we see side by side going down to turn 1. Oh, a little bit of a shake under braking, and I think he's going to go away on the outside here. The corner is going to open up the door. Maybe not. Side by side and behind. Great battling.
Great battling indeed. We were talking about track temperature a little bit ago. Garrison Hogan, the last lap or so, spun out as well, going through the bus stop, back to into the wall. They're able to keep it going for the most part. But a lot of drivers starting to struggle with grip through the bus stop. That's one of the heavy braking, but you want to get back on the gas as quick as you can, sections of the track. And I think it's causing them to get a little too heavy on the gas and spin the rear end around.
Checking it across many others through the field. Looking at the battle between Crowder and Schildhaus. And right now, David Schildhaus amongst those, powering pretty well to the field. Should say with Michael Venable as the truck in front. He's got a busy schedule when it comes to his rearward side, of course, working with Spire and that respective organization, but has had one of his better runs in RTP so far this season. You see the paint scheme special for New York State tonight.
And going through the S, they're a little bit loosey-goosey, lacking the rear grip. We talked about trucks starting to heat up a little bit. So when you're getting these heated battles as well, that definitely doesn't help at all. So you see a couple drivers here really starting to play the loosey-goosey game through the bus stop. That's my favorite term to describe a race car that turns a little more than it should.
So how do you fix the balancing act of the loosey-goosiness?
I think that's a bingo card for him.
Do what?
I was going to say, for JP, I feel like that's a bingo card kind of turn for him.
Loosey-goosey. I gotta agree, but at this point, if you've already pit, which almost everyone in both races have, you've kind of made your bed. Actually, looking down the list right now, it does seem that everyone has pit Ashton Crowder in this time. So you've made your bed. That's something you'll have to watch. So Crowder, getting crowded, Andrew Navarro is actually in split number 2 behind Brian Mercurio. So Crowder's going to have the fresh tires. We talked about the drop-off right away after doing 10, 11 laps. These guys, for the most part, everyone else that put them back on lap 10 has now put 15 laps on their tires. So maybe Crowder able to pick up some spots that way, see where he comes out at, and it's going to be interesting to watch that battle. It's almost like being on a short track with new tires versus old tires.
The crossover has certainly happened now for the drivers who pitted much earlier in this race. We're around 25 laps into it. It is lap 25 right now with 16 to go. So some drivers, remember, were coming in on lap number 10. Some drivers were coming in on lap 20. So 10 laps, it's a much bigger difference the more you get into a run with tires because of where that fall off rate kind of extends. It's not linear. A lot of people like to think that, percentage of tires is down 2% one lap, 2% the next lap. It's not that. it very much will, the new shine will come off pretty quickly. It's going to level out for a bit, and then all of a sudden you hit a cliff, and it just keeps going down, down, and down. As we see Brandon Hawk right now, currently in 12th. He's got some drivers in front, just on a fight for the top 10.
Yeah, Hawk down 6 spots. That's Robbie Rabel in front of him in Navarro. We talked about that battle a lap or so ago. Looking at the new tires for Crowder, mentioned 10, 15, 16 laps newer. He just drove around Dalton Milam like he was standing still. He's got a great drive off the corner. So I think Crowder found some here. He's 27 seconds behind Mercurio, currently running in that 16th position. But Crowder going to be a driver trying to sneak his way inside the top 10 in these closing laps here.
And that's going to be something to watch for in these closing stages. How things are broken down, especially as we take a look at some of the other battles. There's a look at Crowder. Right now, looks a lot more stable compared to some of those slipping and sliding. Not a surprise with the tire differential. The downside is, though, Braden, he's going to be a lot further back and going to have to be in full attack mode the rest of this race. Even one battle can cost him a ton of time here.
Yeah, I mean, he's not really being held up at all. Looking at him go around Logan Helton that time by. I mean, just got a great drive off, almost a second and a half faster. Next car on the track is Michael Baumgartner in 13th, and that's in that battle with Hawk, Rabel, and Navarro. So that battle for top 10, Crowder is going to try and chase these guys down over the next 13, 14 laps. And I mean, look at lap times. He's faster than Brian Mercurio, their leader. So the new tire is definitely helping Crowder out here. Is he going to win the race? Probably not. But he's going to try and get a cheap top 10 here if he can.
I mean, points are not cheap. As we take a look now at your other grouping of drivers, still flying. Quentin Warman, 29 to 10. I received note from Ken Byron during the last stint. He got up to about this position before he came into the pit road, by the way. They said just dial it in perfect on the race setup, but just missed the qualifying setup. That's why Warman did not set a qualifying time for this race tonight. He's kind of proven that setup's been on point with how fast it's been able to go.
That's his SpongeBob helmet there. That's what's impressive is that SpongeBob helmet.
I want to figure you would say something about that.
And before anyone asks, he did ask about that to me a few weeks ago to make sure that was in.
And you said, you're a goofy goober, you're going to make sure it gets slid into the broadcast right there. I'm sure that's exactly how that conversation went. But yeah, Warman is proving his speed and proving that it is not impossible to make passes happen in a short 40-lap race if you've got that setup, if you've got the just the talent behind the wheel of that truck. What's really impressive, not just the fact that he's gained 19 positions in just around 28 laps of racing. What's impressive to me is that you look at the rest of the field and how closely packed they all are to where they had their race start at. You know, Kerner, of course, started first, is in first. Clampin has gained 3 positions. Same with Frisch. Matheson 4. But those are mostly the limits of where these drivers have gained positions. Some have lost more than others, but generally speaking, it is shocking to see a driver have 19, now 20 gained positions as Quentin Warman has in this race in such a short amount of time. When you put talent in the back, it's usually going to move forward.
Moving forward, we shall so far with how things have gone with 12 laps to work with. The lead gaps are growing. Of note in the other grouping, Mercurio up by 7.5 seconds over Euroshack.
The top 3 have stayed the same, at least as far as being on podium. Mercurio started up front, stays up front. Euroshack started third, up 1 spot second. And Agnell Phillip there started second, down to third. So 1 second apart splits Euroshack and Phillip, and then behind them Nate Stewart is by about 4 seconds. But that gap from Mercurio to Euroshack first second, 7.4 seconds. So I mean, Mercurio has turned on the turbo boosters, and he said, "Good night, Irene. Bye, bye, bye."
Oh, some troubles in the bottom box. A lot of pushing and shoving down there. That right there is Crawford in that group. Matheson believe in that grouping. You also have Christopher Pfeffer back in that grouping. That all got a little bit antsy. Our first major replay of the night. Some contact and door baiting to pass.
I mean, when you just send it in there, that's obviously what's going to happen. I think a lot of these drivers, when they're making a move and trying to make it going into turn one, I think they momentarily forget how much more brake pressure is going to be needed to slow that car down because it is downhill going into corner number one. It's the best passing opportunity on this track, but at the same time, you got to be a little bit more careful with making dive bombs like that down the inside. You know, that's hard racing, maybe a little bit too over aggressive, but no harm, no foul for the most part. They keep moving on.
That's a 70-foot decline from the start-finish line to the bottom of turn one.
Great view there of it.
About 10 laps to work with in these races, by the way. We have flown on through them here tonight with how things have gone. We've touched a lot about Matheson in this season. Matheson, he's been one that's been willing to roll strategy calls all season. So far in this round, it's just been about scoring consistent finishes and keeping it clean. Hasn't really had to roll the dice to be in the top 20. Dylan.
Yeah, hasn't had to do too much. I mean, again, it's one of those races where as long as you don't make mistakes, as long as you got a little bit of speed, you're not going to get that luck factor go against you. It's really going to be what your speed is where you're going to finish the race, unless you make a mistake or get caught behind somebody else for a long amount of time. So it's not shocking to me where he's running right now. He's got speed. He's gained some positions. That's the big thing. Where you qualified is really going to be close to where you end up, unless, again, you're just lacking on overall speed. Kind of, I guess if we want to talk about someone lacking on speed compared to where they qualified, Jack Coyne, obviously. But after lap one, he's only lost 3 more positions as we go to the other split with Brian Mercurio still in the lead of that one by a fair and healthy margin.
Yeah, the Aeroshack 7.4 seconds the last time by. Still, Phillips is second behind them. And you got Nate Stewart and Kevin Champagne running at the top 5. Driver having a good run though. Matthew Morton up 4 spots. Actually trying to get around Kevin Champagne as well to get inside the top 5. Actually, he's right there on the back bumper. And this is going to be a huge shocker here. Sandro Nyhoff from 14th to 8th up 6 spots, trying to chase down Matthew Morton and Kevin Champagne to get inside the top 5. So a lot of battles here in the final stages, except not for the lead, as Mercurio has absolutely checked out. He said, I'll see you guys next week.
You know, guys, as an employee of a team that prides itself on its road course racing prowess, this is the kind of race we love.
Yeah, nice and clean throughout this entire race. Really only one major instance of contact all race. It says a lot with how these drivers have really done things on the preparation. It really speaks volumes on just how much you have to be one with the racetrack, Braden, just to be able to make sure you have the opportunity to then say, hey, I've learned everything. I'm not going to be with the pace car in the pit lane right now. I'm going to be on the circuit turning laps.
That's one thing to look at the qualifying differences here between IRP or another oval that we go to. The top 10 can be separated by just 1/10. Here, you have guys, from first to second, it's 2 or 3 tenths even. The top 10 can be a full second. So road courses, you're chasing the whole seconds, and then you start to narrow down to 10 amongst the top 4 or 5 guys. And it's all about being aggressive. How much can you push the track to them? It's without one getting into the point here on iRacing. iRacing can go off track a little bit. They're not going to set qualifying time versus real life. Well, you might gain something, you might not get a penalty. So that's one big deal these guys have to learn. Is there's a lot more finesse as far as managing track limits. It's a whole different aspect. That's a whole other argument I'm not even going to get into that these guys typically aren't used to on the oval side of things.
And you have to say, depending on if they hold on, they are right now looking like should. Norse Force is going to be extremely happy by the end of the night, you have to say, with all this. Because to be able to get the race wins in both splits takes a lot of dedication and focus. And if you do nail the setup well, it speaks volumes for just the team cohesion, Dylan, just to be able to show you can do it in both splits with 2 different sets of drivers.
Yeah, no 2 drivers are exactly alike, but if you can find that perfect marriage between the truck setup and the driver ability, driver skill to get around a place like Watkins Glen, you're going to be sitting pretty. Again, you take away the luck aspect of it, and then it's truly down to executing each lap, all 40 of the laps, executing your pit in, your pit out, making sure you don't make a mistake, making sure that those setups are fine-tuned properly. Obviously, Kerner, Mercurio, they're 2 of the faster drivers in this 70-driver round 2 of the Road to Pro Series. So I'm not shocked. Was that a dive attempt or a look at a dive or something we were seeing right there? Certainly took a peek down the inside going into 1.
Peekaboo.
Peekaboo, I see you indeed in terms of some of the moves, but take a look at Pfeffer staying lockstep right now. Let's look at the replay.
Took a little look.
I mean, you gotta go for whatever opportunity presents itself. You never know when you're gonna get another opportunity to make a move or make a pass. Meanwhile, lap traffic's starting to come into play for Brian Mercurio. Just put Matthew Batby down a lap, as well as a couple other drivers. Garrison Hogan about to go 1 lap down. Colton Harvey and Nick Olson next up on the chopping block as well. So lap traffic might play a picture and, you know, knock down that 7-second advantage that Mercurio has, but I don't think he's sweating.
I'll say this, guys, in the split up in your top left corner, you know, we've been watching the battling between Jake Matheson and Christopher Pfeffer. Now Alexander Russell has joined the conversation. Russell and Pfeffer both pitted on the same lap. Matheson, one of the earlier hitters throughout this race. And if you look a little bit more forward, Blaze Crawford, currently in P5, also came in on lap 17 and seems to be slowing down his pace maybe just a tad. Right now, Matheson trying to do all he can for the next 5 laps to hold on to 6th, but he's got a lot of faster drivers in behind, and don't look now, but Quentin Warman is lurking.
And we know Quentin is electrifyingly quick. The thing is, he is on the older tire strat, some of the oldest tires in the field, got up to 22 laps through. They are closing now the group with Alexander Russell now in it, by the way. Russell, for reference, is with a little bit fresher tires compared to Matheson in that other group. So we'll see if Russell's, yeah, by 5 laps.
Yeah.
Talking about pressure, Robert, sorry to interrupt you, Dylan, but we talked about Ashton Crowder a little bit ago. He stayed out a lot later than anyone else did and had that fresh rubber. He was able to run down Michael Bumgarner and Brendan Watt, currently running in that 12th spot, trying to get Robbie Rabel. He's slowed down a little bit, just a hair quicker. So about 2 seconds separates him in the top 10 finish. He came out of the pits in 16th, so to be able to make up 6 spots in 10, 15 laps, I think that's pretty good.
I'll say this for sure. Blaze Crawford's pace has definitely slowed down a little bit. I think it's very possible for Quentin Warman to get a top 5 from this race. But I also look at a case like, Alexander Russell and Christopher Pfeffer. They know that Warman is closing in on them. It must be so frustrating to see this great defense that they're trying to deal with Jake Matheson. I mean, it's a great race between all of them. And look at that. There's potential for a move on the outside, or at least to set up a move going into 1 or the final corner here.
Side by side with coming up to 3 laps to go next time by. Russell contact. Bounced off Pfeffer's door. And Pfeffer able to hold on to it. Russell tried it, couldn't get it.
This is an all-risk versus reward thing right here. A little bit of contact, you spin out. You fall, outside the top 15. That's a ton of points there. Gonna catch a replay right here. That's some short track racing.
It definitely felt a little bit like short track racing right there, but also it annoys me to no end to see drivers going a little bit too over aggressive on a corner that a move can't be done all that easily, instead of just being patient and waiting for the next corner or the next set of corners where you know a move could be done, and getting way out of shape right there. And the bottom right side was Alexander Russell, almost opened the door up for Quentin Warman, who is there.
He has joined that fight. Looking at some of the other fights on screen. Blake McCandless a part of this group that's now in the big box. As they come up to the final couple laps here. Very quiet race for McCandless tonight.
Quiet is the name of the game. You don't want this race to really go wrong per se. So if you have a quiet race at Watkins, that's A-OK. Candace is trying to kind of get there at the end, and then he's got, Shano Nyhoff and Ethan Lane right there in front of him. See if he can maybe get a couple spots here in the final couple laps.
2 to go in both splits. Down to the final couple laps here. And right now looking at some of the battles around track as Eddie Carter tries to get himself through traffic. Has Chad McKinley and River Hayes in front. Logan Clampett still less than 2 seconds back. Carter yawing it out.
It's not over for the win in the main split that we're watching in the top left. Oh, that's a desperate move to try and get around a lapped car. Aggressive, but those are the kinds of moves you have to make. I thought for a second that we would have seen almost a move right back by Chad McKinley to unlap himself. I kind of like the aggression there as the white flag has come out on track in at least, I think, both splits right here. Yeah, and Turner will try to continue moving, but Clampett is there. He's caught up.
1 to go, presented by Maconi Entertainment in both splits. Both are in near identical spots on the racetrack, it seems. Take it home in both splits here as they get ready to close. Eddie Carter in the top picture in your upper left. Carter started off the night from the pole, set forward from set pole, ran away. Brian Mercurio on the opposite side, set forth, followed the same battle plan, similar setup, similar pace, similar drive off, similar runs and strategy. And tonight, both of them will get to celebrate. Logan Clampett closing up in one split. Mercurio dominating in the other. Down to the final corners. Celebration time for the North Force camp. Eddie Carter makes it out of the final corner. Brian Mercurio cleanly makes his way out of his. They will both become victors in RTP at the Glen.
Brian Mercurio, beautiful race for him in that second split. 8-second advantage over Connor Yaroshak, and let me tell you, these North Force guys have a reason to celebrate.
An unreal finish for North Force. Dominant speed from both of their top drivers tonight. And in the end, clean racing. Just a couple DNFs apiece, really. In sync indeed were these fields.
I'll tell you what, at the end of that race, we were watching for a while that battle in the main primary view in the top left right now of who would make it there for P7, and Russell got the move done in the final corner on Christopher Pfeffer.
Nicely done. So Russell in the end gets to 7th in his split. Celebration differences. Mercurio just pushing on his cool down lap. Eddie Carter taking all the time in the world in his.
A lot of heated battles in both splits, and a lot of drivers taking opportunity, one to celebrate. And some drivers are so far back. We just had Nick Olson and Colton Harvey just a second ago cross line. Not quite side by side, but they were a minute and 10 seconds behind Mercurio, so they were only a lap away from being lapped there.
So just about celebration time in both splits. How about in-sync burnouts? Not really. Mercurio starts his first. Carter comes second on the burnouts. So it's a North Force burnout night as both Mercurio and Carter get to do some twirl arounds and some burnouts from the Glen.
That's beautiful right there in the picture and perfect. Watching both those guys celebrating together. I don't know if they even know they're celebrating together. That's the best part about it.
And the welcome party coming out to congratulate Carter in one screen as well, as they burn out together as a group. Why don't we get a chance to take a step aside, take a break, as all of North Force out in celebration mode tonight. They pick up the W's in RTP from Watkins Glen.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen for post-race coverage of the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series. And what was some exciting action here in RTP Racing here from the Glen. Lots of breakdown for your post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. Tonight's action brought to you by Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. Let's take a look at how the results look. We'll start things off in our first of 2 splits in just a second. First of 2 splits tonight, seeing a grand total of 33 start. Eddie Carter, Logan Clampett, Michael Frisch, Brad Wright, and Blaze Crawford in your top 5. Of those, 3 of the top 5 were teammates. Jake Matheson, Alexander Russell in the next group, with Christopher Pfeffer losing a spot late. Quinton Warman got within 3/10 of them for night. Jack Coyne in the top 10, Dylan.
We continue moving on with Michael Venable finishing just outside the top 10 in that Ford, finishing 11th. David Childhouse, the Aspire Director of Operations, in 12th, while Christopher Hill, Jackson Crowder, and Max Brady round out the top 15. Joe Armstrong, Ryan Andrew, Cade McClenny, Dalton England, and Tanner Love, your top 20, JP.
21st spot on the next page. That went the way of JT Poole. Santiago Tires went from the back of the field to 22nd. James Wenzel, 23rd. Bellet, 24th. Rocky Boy, the 3rd. His strategy going long didn't work out. Finished 25th. Nathaniel Landmere, along with Nicholas Miller, in the top 27 on the lead lap. River Hayes back in 28th. Chad McGinley and Caden Rush a lap down. Your DNF club had several laps down for David L. Brown, Matt Cucker, and Daniel Nanny. Cucker and Nanny, in particular, losing laps late in this one.
And looking over at split number 2, kind of a same type of deal. 33 drivers took the starting grid. Not all of them made it to the checkered flag, though. Brian Mercurio, hat trick for him, starts on the pole, leads the most laps, gets the fastest lap, but doesn't lead them all, but still leads the important one. He's going to finish first tonight. 8 seconds over Connor Yaroshack in second. Agnell Phillip in third. Nate Stewart gets a great run there in fourth. Kevin Champagne rounds out the top 5. Matthew Morton in sixth. Ethan Lane in seventh. Sandra Nyhoff in eighth. Blake McCandless and Andrew Navarro there. They fought till the very end, that bottom top 10 or so guys they did, and let me tell you, it was a hard fought all around to run out your top 10 there. And then it's going to be a Robbie Vrabel Jr. there in 11th. Ashton Crowder in 12th, Brandon Hawk in 13th, Michael Baumgardner in 14th, Logan Houghton 15th, Dalton Milam in 16th, Carson Bowers there in 17th, Ashton Slice 18th, Will Cooley has a cool finish there in 19th, car number 19, truck number 19, and then Matt Danson rounding out your top 20. All these drivers still on the lead lap for the most part. So far, so good, so clean. Next page is going to be Johnny Avila in 21st, Jack M. Mace in 22nd, Justin R. Smith in 23rd, Mitchell Hunt 24th, Channing Value in 25th, Dylan C. Jones in 26th. Then they're going to have Trevor Huff in 27th, Nick Olson 28th. Then their last driver on the lead lap, Colton Harvey in 29th. Joining the one lap down club is going to be Garrison Hogan, Matthew Batby, Nicholas Morse. And then your one driver in the DNF club is Dustin L. Johnson after blowing his motor sitting on pit road.
That's a look top to bottom at the running orders here tonight. Here from Watkins Glen, as we look to see which drivers get the chance to speak with us here. We do have several from one of our splits already standing on by. First up on the order, Eddie Kerner taking the win by 1.4 seconds. Eddie, a big night for Norris Force. You both get wins in the splits. How are you feeling on from the team side as you pick up the win tonight here at the Glen?
Feeling great. Yeah, on our side, 1, 3, 5, 7, and had Shieldhouse with no practice up there in 12th. It was ripping. Felt good. I was out for a Sunday drive that race. It was shout out to Jarrett. He built a ripper, and I was fortunate enough to get on pole, and that was kind of it. It was really hard to pass with dirty air. I knew that, and just had to keep Clamp behind me for a little bit, but it was, yeah.
Overall, though, what was the prep like throughout the week to be able to be this dialed in on speed? I mean, in your split alone, 3 of the top 5 Norris Force drivers.
A lot of laps. I really wanted this one. I put in over 500, 600 laps here, and so did the rest of the team. Everyone's firing on all cylinders right now, and it shows the speed of the truck.
So on that note here, from after tonight, still a couple more races to go. How are you feeling about the positioning now that you're amongst one of the championship favorites, in fact, for round 2?
Yeah, I've never been in the championship talks, which is cool. I'm always usually fighting and clawing for that 20th spot. It's nice to kind of have a little bit of breathing room, and maybe one or two more good finishes, and I can kind of lock myself in. But yeah, we have still some people down below the cut, so we'll be working hard to get them in the top 20.
Well, congratulations once again on the victory here tonight, Eddie.
Thank you.
Eddie Ball coming away with the win tonight. Second spot went to Logan Clampett. Clampett is with Braden.
Logan had a hard-fought victory there to the very, not victory, but hard-fought race there to the very end. Came up just 1.4 seconds shy of the victory. What did he need to beat Eddie there?
I think I need to start second, to be honest. I frame stuttered through the S's on lap 1, and then slid through the bus stop. So I decided to cool the tires down a little bit and try for lap 2, and it was a little slower, but it was barely slower than Brad. So I think we needed to start second, just to put more pressure on Eddie and maybe short pit him, because I know we were like almost 3 seconds back when we tried to short pit, and obviously he sees me pit, so he's gonna pit. So I just need to be closer to him to try and jump ahead of him, because dirty air and stuff is nasty. But Eddie was very fast all race long. I was a little inconsistent all race until the last like 10 laps. I was pretty solid, but the truck felt really good, and I'm really happy with second. It's probably going to be really good for points, man.
Yeah, huge points day for you. And you talk about being, a little inconsistent at the beginning there. Not to call you out, but you had the most incident points out of any driver that finished the race on the lead lap. I'm assuming most of that is from off tracks. Talk about how difficult it is to maximize the track potential without risking getting an off tracker. You were pretty close to getting a penalty there for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was just trying to use up my off tracks through the bus stop. It wasn't gaining me much time, to be honest. I was overshooting the bus stop quite a bit, which kind of forced me to kind of hang a left a little earlier than I wanted to. But yeah, I made sure that I wasn't going to get disqualified.
All right, and then you got Milwaukee and Rockingham and Homestead coming up. Looking forward, big points night for you, like you mentioned. They're feeling another big points night coming up.
Yeah, that's those are gonna be really good tracks for us. I'm really looking forward to Homestead, especially. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. It would be awesome to win the championship or go for it. But the main goal is to get top 20 with these Team Conti guys. But I just wanted to thank them for all the help at Watkins Glen. A lot of them came out. Ottinger, Conti, Molis. Um, Dustin Hall is per usual my crew chief. He puts in a lot of hard work into into this Road to Pro stuff as well. Kevin King did some work on the truck as well, and just a lot of hard work went into Watkins Glen. So I really appreciate everyone coming and working on the truck for it to be fast.
Yep, we're putting on a great show for us, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the near future. Thank you, Logan.
Thank you, Brayton.
Once again, that's Logan Clamp at second in his respective split. Michael P. Frisch, he finished third in the split we were keeping an eye on in the big box, much of the way in split A. He is with Dylan Coyle.
Yeah, Michael, you had a really solid race. You pitted a little bit earlier than a few of the other drivers right in behind you. Do you feel like you started to feel that as the run went on?
Yeah, I did. Tires were really about to fall off the cliff of the earth, but I think everybody was at that point because there's just a certain plateau you hit with the dirty air, whether you have somebody in behind you or in front of you and you feel like you're faster, they're just not going to get around you. So I pretty much, those last couple laps, I knew I just had to hit my laps and not make a mistake and kind of hold on to third there. But no, hitting early there, I don't think I had anything from my teammate Eddie, even though we kind of went back and forth at each other all week, the last 2 weeks, trading times and seeing who can get quicker and all that. So it was kind of fun challenging him all week. I'm no road course ringer at all. I'll just say that straight up now, but I put in a lot of time and it paid off. So I'm really happy about this one.
Well, I guess for one thing, even though you're self-titling yourself as not a road course ringer, you still finished third. You had a pretty solid team setup. It looked like all across the board, obviously. Does going forward though, no more road courses on the schedule? You're trying to compete for this championship. Heck, I'm not even sure what the final points situation is, but you're right there. Or at least, even if you're not the leader, you're right there. You're right in close behind. So, obviously, it's about finishing top 20. But how sweet would a championship be from this Road to Pro series?
It would mean a lot. You know, going into last year, I was new to Norse Force, and I had Daniel Buttafuoco by my side, carrying me a lot through the way and just showing me how to run a lot of these tracks and how to be fast and consistent, and show me what I just need to do. And this year coming in, I had a big task on my hands since we kind of lost him due to work hours that he couldn't be here. Unfortunately, I would really wish he was here, but so I kind of taking the big man role and put my foot down and just trying to be quick, but having that winning mentality each and every week, no matter if we got all three of us in the top three fighting for a championship. I mean, we still have to worry about people in the back, not making it and all this and that, but each and every week our mindset is to go out and to win and be the best we can, and it's clearly showing tonight. I mean, we sweep both of the splits on an insane setup, and I think it's just that gratitude and that mentality and vibe that everyone has around each other, that where we can just really work really well. No matter what it comes to road courses, oval, we're kind of there.
Awesome. Well, hey, I'll give you the floor if anybody you want to give a shout out to, any
Yeah.
partners you'd like to let, and give that thanks.
I'm yapping a little bit too much, but no, I can't thank my guys enough at North Force Racing. Libby, Eddie, Blaze, Brian, Max, Carson, all them guys. They do a lot of work behind the scenes each and every week, and to be fighting for a championship, 3 of us, it says a lot. So hopefully these next couple of weeks we'll be fighting for a win. Still trying to click off that real asphalt win. We still have that dirt Bristol win, but yeah, we'll bring home one of these checkered flags one times, but I ain't complaining about a podium.
Well, Michael, yappers are most certainly welcome. I should know I am one myself. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Not a problem. JP?
Michael, we first rounding up the top 3 in that respective group. We also have standing on by the other drivers. We first have 3rd place in the other grouping of drivers, Agno Phillip. Agno, another strong run for you tonight. How are you feeling about the top 3 here tonight?
I feel okay about it. I think, kind of messed up the Q lap and messed up kind of the first turn, and, went from probably any chance at the win kind of went out the window with kind of both those mistakes side by side there. So that's a little disappointing. I really felt like we had a really good piece and that we had some pace, but overall great finish, testament to all the work that everybody's been putting in on the sets. And yeah, excited to continue with the rest of the season. It's been a particularly good one so far for me.
As well, what was one of the biggest challenges about this race tonight, and why for you?
The track was really slick, and it's road course racing. It's not necessarily something that I do all the time. So I definitely it's a lot really about being in the right rhythm. And I just wasn't, at the start of this race and through much of this race, I was really struggling, especially with that last corner. So just really didn't get to show the pace I really think we had. But that's that's the nature of stock cars on road courses. Like this is exactly why this stuff is so hard. And yeah, so I think that was probably the most difficult thing. And dirty air was trying to claw through and get close to people was really difficult.
With that in mind, you're one of the championship favorites here. What goes through your mind when being told you're one of the favorites for the title with half a season to go?
Well, I mean, that's cool. I wouldn't have guessed, going into this, that would be that would be in play. And that's really cool to see. We'll see if it holds up. Never really been in the contention for a championship in an official series like this before, so we'll give it our best shot. There's a lot of really fast drivers near the top of this field. Michael Frisch, Eddie Kerner, who I saw won the other split. Brian Mercurio. I don't want to. Eddie, if I'm not saying somebody's name, it's not personal, but like all those guys who are were at the top 4 in points going into this, they all had good days. So it's gonna be really tight at the top. We're all it's fun racing with those guys, but they're fast. So we're always, I think, if we continue to be running up front, we'll be running with them. So we'll have to just try to see how these next few go. It's a good little carrot to kind of keep the motivation up and kind of keep chasing something.
Hi, Agnel.
Hello.
Bye,
Is that
Agnel.
Dylan?
Yeah. Hey, nice finish, bud.
What's up, Dylan?
Oh, not much. I'm still upset I missed your win the other week.
Well, there'll be more. Don't worry.
Oh, I love that. I love that attitude. All right, I'll let you get back going with the official interview stuff.
Justin, you're just gonna let Dylan step all over your thing like that? Come on now.
It's all good here. Thank you very much for your time, though, Agno.
Yeah, of course. All right, take care, guys.
Agno Phillip cut away in 3rd. 2nd spot, Connor Euroshack is with Braden Lester.
Connor, you sit here and bring it home in second. You're one of your better finishes, your second 1-2 front row finish, but you started there in third and ran behind Macori all night. Is there anything you could have done differently to catch up to him?
No. By about lap 3, I knew it was pretty much just trying to maximize what the truck would give me. We were so tight. I just knew right away that we didn't quite have it, but I'm really happy that we were able to just maximize everything and bring home a really good points finish, especially after a rough IRP.
Then you mentioned a good point finish. You came in tonight as one of 5 Canadians to running around 2 of Road to Pro, but also 14th, only 5 points above that bubble. And sitting here looking at the results, I mean, they're going to move up quite a bit in the points.
Yeah, certainly. I'm definitely happy. I wish there was a drop because that would definitely help me out. But we're running good, and I feel like the pace in our trucks is good enough that we can compete and have good runs any week. So it's just all about, being consistent and hitting my marks and not screwing up, basically.
Then you mentioned that disastrous race at IRP. You got Milwaukee, Rockingham, Homestead coming up. Anything you're looking forward to?
I think Homestead will be fun. Probably Milwaukee as well. It'll be hard to pass for sure. I think Rockingham's going to be pretty rough. I feel like the groove will just move up to the wall and it will be very hard to pass. But, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season.
Oh, we'll have to see what happens. We appreciate you, putting on a great show for us and taking time to talk with us.
Yeah, no problem at all.
That's Gunnar Euroshack coming away with the top 3 run. Thank everyone for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. On that note, I'll start with you, Dylan. Your thoughts on tonight?
I mean, it kind of went the way I thought it would, at least up front. Yeah, the drivers who qualified up front, staying up front for most of the race, with luck kind of taken out of it. It was exciting to see some of the battles happening just outside those top 5 spots in both splits, and I wish we saw a little bit more of it. I wonder if the race was a little bit longer, if we'd see maybe 2-stop strategies get involved. But hey, it sets us up pretty well for a last few races kind of run to the potential of a Contender Series berth.
What about you? What are your thoughts, Braden?
Well, we knew it was going to be interesting coming in. I don't think anyone expected someone to win by over 7-8 seconds. But Mercurio sat there in that split number 2, put on a great show for us. And I think a lot of guys are looking forward to Homestead, but Rockingham is going to be a great show here in a couple weeks' time and going to be fun to watch.
And on that note, our next time out, it's going to be an interesting time when we see what happens when we go short track racing. It's the Milwaukee Mile. It will be on August 22nd. That will be an 8 p.m. start. Once again, be sure to tune in on August the 22nd to see that go into play. And a reminder, one more thing before we forget. Right now, currently going on as well in Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Entertainment Networks is the Evan Canfield Memorial Race, currently live through Facebook. Be sure to tune in for that race in support of one of the more respected media members in that racing community. Well, after a night of some of the most intense competition available on the iRacing service, we're wrapping up tonight's coverage. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Braden Laster and Dylan Coyle, with Bradley Cooper and DJ Line producing. Shane Mundy was working the Maconi Entertainment social media pages. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action. I hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.